got the cornfield calm, Midwest tone, but he's spitting facts like a dog with a bone. Lanky frame, fire-haired, eyes on the case, breaking down the game and the darkest place. Sports scores to murder boards, Hoosier logic cuts like swords. From Friday lights to chalked out lines, this redhead's brain rewrites the lines. Inside the Hoosier mind, where the stories twist and stats unwind. He's a legend in flannel, mic in hand, digging deep where few can stand. From touchdowns to crime scenes raw, he's got the truth in every draw. Yeah, step in if you dare to find what's brewing inside the Hoosier mind. He'll talk Pacers, Colts, or Colts on trial. Hoosier humor with a devilish smile. He's that redhead sleuth with a box of clues. Takes your headline, breaks the news. With every stat and every scream, he's painting portraits in your stream. Don't blink, he'll tie it tight. From game night wins to murder fight. Inside the Hoosier mind, where the facts hit hard and the lines are blind. He's a ginger ninja, smooth and slick, cracking cases play by play quick. From courtrooms to the hardwood floor, he digs for more than just the score. Tune in and don't rewind, you're deep now inside the Hoosier mind.
All right, welcome in everyone to Inside the Hoosier Mind, brought to you by Military Broadcast Radio, helping give veterans a voice. A little bit of technical difficulties there, but I am here with an old guest. Well, not old, but he hasn't been here for a hot minute. And Sam Sprunger with a little bit of throwback to the Big Talk days, talking college football. And he's here because we've had so much happen in the world of college football over this past year. And truly, Sam, I feel like there's so much that is now being put to the front of everything. And I truly wonder, it's probably not going to happen for the next 20 years, but I wonder if this is the steps of maybe change coming to the college football landscape in the future. When, we don't know, but that's my first initial thoughts. But appreciate you and happy to have you on the show, good sir.
Yeah, thanks for letting me come back on and chat with you. I got to move myself over a little bit because I see the other shot, the up and down shot I'm barely seeing. Yeah, there has been a lot in football in just the past, 5 years that we've seen. It's not your what is it? It's not your grandpa's.
Yeah, not your grandpa's NCAA college football anymore.
But honestly, we've talked about this in the past, and at that point, I was saying within the next 5 years, I think it's going to be even more drastically different. And I think the way things are developing now, it's going to get to the point where I think you're mistaken. I think it's going to happen in the next no more than by the time we hit 2030, we'll have an extremely different, and maybe 2032, because I think that is when the ACC's TV rights or whatever their thing.
Technically, they're 2036.
Is it 20? Oh, okay. Well, it'll be by 2030 then. Is what I was thinking. Maybe they'd ride out the storm, but 2036 is way too long.
Well, and I feel like too, with how antsy teams are getting, and especially because you look at teams like Miami right now, they have a pretty big case of, hey, we didn't even compete for our conference title, but we got in, and we're making they're having kind of an Ohio State type run that Ohio State had last year. And so who knows, what noise will Miami make? What noise will Florida State? What noise will Clemson make as far as can they get out of the ACC or in that TV rights deal, or just get it renewed? Maybe we do end up keeping the ACC. Who knows?
I honestly, the way I'm seeing it, and I think it was Chip Kelly a couple of years ago just kind of threw out there, why don't we just take the top 64 teams, put them in the first top division of football, then the next 64, and then basically 3 tiers of Division I and make those the different tiers in which basically conferences don't exist. Because let's put, here's the thing, if conferences mattered, USC, Oregon, UCLA, and Washington would not be in the Big Ten. It's clearly just the money grab. So, geography doesn't matter anymore. So therefore, those conferences really just don't matter anymore. You have the top 64 teams and they can just be the top 64. You know what I mean? And I think, there I've seen people, bring up the fact of, you can even set it up to where the top two teams from the bottom two tiers, get promoted, and the bottom two teams from each of the top two tiers get relegated. I think that's a brilliant the soccer style from the the UEFA or whatever you want to call it, soccer style of relegation and promotion. I think is amazingly wonderful to think about, and it might help do some good things in the game of college football. I think it's eventually going to be, college football is going to sit on its own, out with no sort of conference alignment or anything, and you'll have all the other sports, basketball included, all the other sports go back to their regional style of conference, and you probably see the Pac-12 come back.
Yeah. And in all honesty, that does kind of make sense. And like you said, we've talked about that for the last couple of years. Joel Klatt was a huge proponent of that, of why not just have football be its own entity.
It makes sense.
It does, because you think about it, it's the bread, it's the money, it's the breadwinner of the whole sports family as far as bringing revenue in for all of these universities. And
even in the basketball schools.
Exactly, even in the basketball schools. And like you said, with regionality, and basketball is cool because you do have some of these conferences that still, look at the Big East. The Big East is still a pretty prominent conference in the basketball side of sports for college, whereas it just doesn't exist anymore for football. It's technically the AAC, but even then, that's its own conference in basketball too, and the Big East still exists on its own for schools that basketball is their breadwinner. So it is an interesting layout to see, and you brought something up that I wanted to pick your brain on, because I gave my own thoughts on it, but I want to hear your thoughts because you're also an avid college football fan.
Yeah.
The conference championships.
Oh, goodness.
I know. We've got because we've talked about this, and you for a while there, because I remember these debates you and I would have. You were a big proponent of just getting rid of them.
Yep.
And at first,
totally abolish them.
And I was like, at first, I was thinking, no, like go win your conference. But this was also at the time when we had, a 4-team, football playoff, 4-team playoff.
It actually kind of mattered.
It kind of mattered. It's like, okay, if you're not the SEC champion, unless you're Alabama, you're probably not going to get in. And, we go from there, and there's a lot less room for error. Now you can have a couple trip ups, you can have a couple mistakes, and we've even seen teams. Ohio State last year didn't even compete for it, went on a run, won the national title. Miami poised to do dang near the exact same thing because they didn't compete for the ACC. And, with the way that they're playing and the way things shake out, maybe they're the dark horse team that's able to make a run. So this was the idea I had proposed, and I kind of want your thoughts on this too, along with it. I proposed copying like what we do in college basketball. Like if you have two teams that are both 13-0, like Indiana and Ohio State, or 12-0, in the regular season, co-champs, and you both get into the playoffs, you're co-Big Ten, regular season champs, keep going from there. Because realistically, yes, do we love to see, number 1 versus number 2 for a conference championship as an extra game? Absolutely. But there's the other point brought up of when you're sitting there and the college football playoff committee is trying to debate, who do we let in? Do we let in Miami? Do we let in Notre Dame? Does Alabama stay in? Do they get kicked out? And then you got poor BYU, which I'm not going to lie. I say poor BYU. I'm not really upset that BYU didn't get in. That's just a personal thing. But realistically, if you're sitting here, like, who do we put in? Miami versus Notre Dame. Well, Miami won the head-to-head matchup.
That matters.
Got to. It has to matter, because if it didn't, then
why play?
That goes out the window. But we could also make the argument, if you want to keep conference championships, that's fine, But then you're like, oh man, what do we have these two teams do? I don't know. They're not playing for a conference championship, especially if they're Notre Dame or they're Miami this year. Have them play again. That's an extra game. That's more money. And let's say, by this time Notre Dame gets the win in. Okay, well, now you really do have a difficult decision of, okay, do we put both of them in? And I know you had mentioned maybe we expand to 16 teams, so maybe that becomes less of an issue. But with all that being said, your thoughts on conference championships, everything to go along with that.
A lot to unpack there, and I've got a lot to unpack with it. Conference championships, I think, need to go bye-bye because, at this point anymore, the committee has already said that it only matters for some teams. It doesn't matter for other teams. At this point, you're going to have teams start opting out of playing for their conference championship simply because then they don't lose. And Alabama got housed. They absolutely got housed and gave them the third loss of the season. They looked horrible doing it. They just looked bad. Sure, they beat Georgia in the regular season, but like you said, what is that draw? Your same comment of have Notre Dame and Miami play. What's it matter? What does it matter? Because Georgia Alabama was a replay game of a game they played earlier in the season, won by Alabama.
Right.
So what does it matter if they play again and the other team wins? It didn't matter for Alabama. The fact that they got just absolutely their doors blown off in the SEC championship. But yet you have and notice the attire today, because I've got some comments about one of the quarterfinal team or the semifinal teams here.
Right.
So take this. BYU got screwed.
Yes, they
because they went and played in their conference championship and they got beat pretty handily. Don't get me wrong. They got beat handily, but they only lost to one team all year. Yes, they lost twice, but they only lost to one team all season long. And the fact that they got beat in the Big 12 championship, they got punished for doing that. But hey, they'd be the poster child for opting out.
And remember when the committee said, no, if you lose your conference championship, you will not be punished.
Yeah, remember a few years ago when we were all still on Big Talk together, USC got beat by Utah. They were in the playoff until they got beat by Utah, and that was the benchmark game that they went on the record to say losing in the conference championship will not hurt you in your bid for a playoff.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few years down the road, they do it to BYU because they had to somehow push Alabama into the playoff.
Yep.
Do I think that they deserve Alabama? No, because they were a three-loss team.
Mm-hmm.
That yes, they ended up beating Oklahoma, but honestly, I think whoever plays Oklahoma's beating them because Oklahoma couldn't score points.
Yes,
and that was their biggest downfall all season is they couldn't score points. And you know what? They were probably going to get beat by whoever they played. Period. Yeah. I mean, that's my strong feeling on that. I really do feel that they would have lost no matter who they played. That's not damning Oklahoma. They just had a season to where their offense couldn't do anything after their quarterback, I can't remember his name, got hurt.
John Mateer.
Yeah, Mateer. After he got hurt, they couldn't do anything offensively even when he came back. I mean, it was such an anemic offense. But I think a better thing, especially with the fact that there are going to be multiple teams from these big conferences, that will make the playoff. We knew Ohio State and IU were making the playoff.
Yes,
we knew that.
Yep. Win or lose, no matter what.
Win or lose, both were making it in, and both were getting a bye. And I've got a thing about the bye too. Why not make that a 3-4 matchup?
Yes.
Instead, so it's a play-in. This year was a little bit of an anomaly because Oregon was going to make it in as well.
Yes,
we knew that as well. But there are going to be other years that third team that because there's a big push, and trust me, with this new expansion, the Big Ten has enough pull that if they've got one that's even remotely close, a third team that's even remotely close to getting in, they're getting in.
Yeah,
but have the number 3 and 4 team play.
Yeah,
we expanded out, and each of the SEC and Big Ten get 4, have number 4 and 5 play.
Right.
That's your conference championship. It's your play-in, rather. Those top two teams are making it in. They don't need to play just to get the pretty trophy.
Right.
They'll get a trophy anyways.
Yes.
They'll have the co-championship, just like you said.
Mm-hmm.
But then 3 or 4 and 5 play each other to get in.
Yeah.
And you still have that money. The Big Ten gets that money.
Yep.
They can still have a big weekend in Indianapolis, pulling in these teams that don't normally come in, and have a beauty pageant and have that winner goes to the playoff.
Yeah.
It's a win or go home. And that is what I think will probably end up happening, because I honestly think, Tony, for the last for the whole 2 years that the 12-team playoff has been in existence, there's already a need for 16 teams, and I'll explain why. And I haven't talked to you about this, so I don't know if you agree with this. I would, knowing you probably agree with it to a certain extent. What's the record of teams that got buys in those 2 years?
Oh, they're 1-6. Or no, 1-7.
1-7.
7. Yeah.
1-7.
All of them lost last year. Only one.
IU being the only one to win their game after getting a bye.
Yes.
So 7 of the top 8 teams in the 2 years in which this has existed, they've all lost.
Yes.
That can't happen anymore. That is such a bad look. And it's not saying that those teams that beat the bye teams didn't deserve it. They played better games. They won the games on the field.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't have your top 4 teams going, oh, well, which 3 of the 4 are going to lose, or all 4 going to lose, and it would be oh goodness, all 4 of them won. Like, it'd be a shock if the top 4 seeds made it to the Final Four.
Right.
With this matchup, or with this setup. I think they're going to have to expand to 16 just so those top 4 teams, well, in this case, the top 8 teams in that first round all host a game.
Yeah, and
they all play
at
week
least
1.
One person, yeah.
They all play week 1. And if they lose in the first round, well, guess what? Maybe they shouldn't have been a top 4 team. They fooled us all. Or they play a hot team. It's gonna have to go that way, or it is such a horrible look for the CFP when 7 of your 8 top 4 of your top teams in the 2 tournaments you've held have all lost in their first game.
Well, and so here's the other funny thing, and I, like you said, it realistically has more just to do with the college football playoff committee than it does more than anything. But I was almost going to ask, how many of these teams do you think, say you're playing one of your last games of the season, right? It's like, I'm the 1 seed right now. I'm going to get a bye. What if I trip up one of these games? Yeah, I don't want that bye. Let somebody else take that. I don't want it. No, I don't want it. I'll take an L. If that means that I can just keep going like week through week and we'll just keep rolling with all the momentum. I don't have to worry about taking a break. I don't have to worry about guys, getting complacent or no.
Because guess what? L. Because guess what? If you get up by 35 in your first round game, you can rest your starters.
Exactly.
And they still get half of a bye.
You get experience. Your younger guys get experience. So that way, if they have to come in a game that matters. So yeah, that I thought about that too. Cause like you said, when we talked about it after, Georgia lost to Ole Miss, it's like, man, really 1-7. And the only team to do it is IU. And they actually beat their opponent completely down, which
I hate Alabama so much. And again, I call out my attire because of this. I changed my tune on New Year's Day just because I couldn't bring myself to actually hoping. But I hate Alabama so much because they won and had to play IU, and it made me want IU to win because I wanted to see the SEC's collective heads just explode because IU beat the vaunted and historically wonderful always getting in Alabama.
Oh, the dynasty.
It kills me. And you know what? Of the 4 teams remaining, IU is clear and far above the best team in that field.
Yes.
Is it going to be hard to beat Oregon a second time? I think so, but I think they do. And I don't care who they match up against. I don't see them losing. I really don't.
I don't either.
Simply because they had the week off and still won by 35 against Alabama.
Well, and let's say this too, because again, I know you're not an IU fan by any stretch of the imagination. You are all black and gold for Purdue. What is that truly though? What does that say about the coaching now though? Because, and I'm not saying this as a slight to Marcus Freeman. I'm not saying this is a slight to Kirby Smart. I'm not saying it against Kalen DeBoer or any of these coaches or anybody who was a head coach that got a bye. What does that say though when Kurt Cignetti is able to keep his team pretty much in the exact season form that we've seen them be all year long, with this is how we're going to prep, this is how we're going to work, this is how the on-field execution is going to go. He's the only coach that it seemed like, hey, this team came absolutely ready to play like they do each and every week, week in and week out. Ryan Day, obviously, Michigan fans, everybody has something against Ohio State. Ohio State got bullied. They got down quick and they started to fight back a little bit, but it just seemed like they were never able to get their footing after that. Texas Tech, Oregon just had more talent. I know Texas Tech paid a lot of money. They were a fantastic team. They were fun to watch. I really hope they continue to stay like that, because it's cool to see Texas Tech just be that team and truly be a competitive team overall. But again, what does that say about Texas Tech's coaching, and what does that say about some of these teams that it just seems that they were not prepared to be in that moment? And for Oregon too, they got the reverse, because last year they were the team that got caught, getting beat in the first round, and now they're like, no, we've been there, we've done that, we're not doing this again.
I honestly think, and you can disagree with me on this. This perfectly fine. Of all the stuff that I saw leading into that quarterfinal weekend, there was more and more stuff written and reels published and everything saying how Alabama is just going to go in and lambaste IU, and there was no chance the Hoosiers had against the ever fearful and feared
Black hoodie, Crimson Tide.
The Crimson Tide, and honestly, when you have that much billboard material or bulletin board material, it makes your job a little bit easier. I'm not saying that if we saw nothing that IU would have folded like a cheap paper bag.
Yeah,
it would have been up maybe a lot closer. But like, you know what, when I forget who it was that I saw. They did the analysis of overall talent on the teams. Oh yeah, Alabama had the 7th best talent on their roster. IU had the 72nd best rated in college football. But when you've got, hey guys, you just accidentally ended up, all year long, what has Paul Feinbaum and all those moronic SEC people said about IU? If they were in the SEC, they'd be a middle of the pack team. They just beat the hell out of your middle of the pack team.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If IU was in the SEC, it wouldn't even be a competition right
now. Blah. I don't care.
And so, and obviously, I'm assuming you feel probably the same way about Paul Feinbaum with his explanation. So it's like, okay, so that's a smack in the face to Oregon, because IU went up to Eugene. It's not like they beat them in Bloomington. They beat them in Bloomington. Okay, maybe Oregon just had trouble on the road. No. They went to Oregon's home, smacked them in the face, and then came back. And then your defending national champions, who for the most part, everybody sings their praises of Ohio State, beat them for the Big Ten championship. And like we talked about, in a game that realistically didn't matter, both teams were getting in no matter what.
But one was going to
be one was going to be a 1 seed, one was going to be a 2 seed, no matter what happened. That was going to be the case. So that to me is just, it's such a smack in the face to some of these teams. And
absolutely. And there was some other idiot, and I don't mind throwing that word out there because it is a legit idiotic statement. I forget who it was, and it bugs the crap out of me that I can't remember who it was. He said he posted on X that said, finally, we get the matchup in the semifinals. Oregon against IU, and they get a chance on a neutral. Oregon gets a chance on the neutral field to show just how much better they are than IU. IU beat Oregon in Oregon. They didn't beat them in Bloomington. I don't know what in the world. That is the most idiot. Like, think about what you're saying before you hit post, because IU traveled across the country and beat Oregon at Autzen Stadium by 10 points.
Something that their defending national champions couldn't even do last year with who was supposed to be one of the best teams in the country. And they couldn't do it. They could not beat them in Oregon.
Yeah, and so like and I hate that I have to sit here and defend what IU is doing this season. I absolutely hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it with a white hot passion, Tony. I hate it. But the fact remains is they are the best team in the country, and it's not even really that close. I really don't think it's even that close.
So real quick, because they say we don't have to go over all the games.
Yeah.
Who do you have winning out of IU versus Oregon?
I think I kind of hinted at it. I think IU's going to win that game. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be as close as it was when it was in Eugene. Honestly, I think it's not going to be a blowout like IU and Alabama, little brother Alabama.
Right.
But I think just the way that Cignetti he has got something about. The look on his face with just the eyebrow curl up when DeBoer actually went for it on fourth down. He's like, really? Are we measuring? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
And he's like, that's fine. Mine's bigger, and they showed it. I just really, I hate that I say this, but I really like the way they're playing football, and they're going, it wouldn't be a shock, but it would be a surprise to me if Oregon walks away winning.
So real quick before the next part of that, part of me kind of thinks, and this kind of reminds me, because obviously everybody made note that all of the coaches now in the Final Four have a tie to Nick Saban in Alabama, which Paul Feinbaum is just absolutely relishing in that it's still a win for the SEC because it's Nick Saban coach.
Yes, because they all coach in the SEC because that matters.
But but nonetheless, though, it almost kind of look like that Coach Cignetti is kind of the not really the stepchild, but kind of like the adopted child that is truly having success, and the true bloodborne son of Kalen DeBoer is just fumbling constantly as far as losing to bad teams. And, Alabama's Coach Saban is having to really cater and really, advertise that no, Alabama deserves to be in. Alabama deserves to be in. Let me kind of retake the reins of coaching here. But Kalen, you're still the coach, but I'm still on campus, so I'm going to help you recruit and I'm going to help you coach. Like, does it kind of feel like that to me?
He's still got an office in Tuscaloosa. Come on.
Well, and it's funny. I have a buddy who goes to Alabama, and I called him out for that. I'm like, there ain't no way after that Florida State loss that Kalen just suddenly became a good coach all of a sudden again. As far as let's turn this team around.
You know what? I'll do your game plans for you, Kalen, and then you can just act like you're making the calls.
Yeah, there's a guy I follow on TikTok who's hilarious. He has this Nick Saban character, and then Kalen DeBoer. And every time Kalen DeBoer loses, Nick Saban shows up, and he's like, "You keep messing up, Daddy's coming home."
He's going to come home with the milk.
Literally, and the oatmeal cream pies, because Miss Terry, he's tired of having to clean after Miss Terry. But so you've got IU more than likely beating Oregon, making it
I think they win by 2 possessions, probably a 10-point type of thing. And you know what? It may be a touchdown late makes it 14. I really don't. It's going to be one of those, if you remember the championship game, the Big Ten championship game last year when Penn State and Oregon played. Penn State got close, and then Oregon would puff it out. And then Penn State, it was like Oregon just had them always at an arm's length. I think that's what it's going to be.
Okay. So then who do you have on the other side with Ole Miss versus Miami?
This one's a hard one because I really do like what Ole Miss is doing. I really do. But it's hard to dismiss what Miami's done with their life that they got.
Yes.
And so this is going to be I think a field goal, kind of like the game against Georgia, to where that field goal at the end is just gonna basically end it. Give me Miami.
That's who I picked. It's one of those, and it's funny. We have a guy that we work with. He said, he's like, it's all about the U, man. I'm like, I don't know. And they face Texas A&M. They get the upset. I'm like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Okay, I was like, oh, but against Ohio State, no, there's no way. Like, oh my God, they beat Ohio. Well, I can't pick them against Ole Miss because I'm 0-2 picking against them. So I guess I got to go for them.
It really is they're making the best of their gift. And I put those in air quotes because I really think it should have been BYU and Miami that made it in, not Alabama and Miami. But
I agree.
That's neither here nor there because it wasn't the way that it happened. But and you know what? Real quick before we move on or talk even further, Notre Dame needs to get over themselves. Getting mad at the ACC about them promoting at Miami over Notre Dame. I don't care what kind of quasi membership you belong to the ACC with. Miami's paying money to the conference for every round they move on to, and all the money that they bring on, they're promoting them. They're not going to promote a team, a school that has a relationship, but doesn't pay a stinking dime to them because they want to remain independent. You know what?
Yeah.
You made your bed. You lie in it. You know what? If you would have been part of the ACC, you would have been in the ACC championship. You could have won it, and you would have had no argument whatsoever from anybody when you got named as a team in it. Period.
Yes.
Shut up. Shut up.
And that's been
or join a conference. One of the two.
And for the most part, that's been everybody's argument. Just join a conference. Obviously, you weren't happy with the Big Ten years ago because the Big Ten snubbed you, disrespected you, whatever you feel the case may be. So you went to the ACC, you decided to flirt with them, you liked that relationship a little bit more. Oh, wait a minute, you guys didn't advocate for, like you said, a team that if Notre Dame goes to the playoff, they get 100% of every single dime that they get. Because
and you know what? Good for them having that ability.
Yes, fantastic.
Good for them.
And like
but
you
win
said,
your games to get there.
And like you said, if it's one of those that in the end, if you're being independent and you have full autonomy, full control over who you play and whatnot, cool. But like you said, if you're on the outside looking in, you're not competing for a conference championship and you've lost too many games and there's even a shred of doubt that, you might not get in, it might be time for you to rethink things.
When your benchmark win is USC, and that's not taking anything away from USC, they just aren't what they were 10 years ago.
Correct.
When that's your benchmark win, you don't deserve to be in. I'm sorry.
Correct.
And Miami, their benchmark was you. They beat you.
Yes.
And you're mad that the conference is picking them and promoting them? Get over yourself. Or beat Texas A&M. You lost by a point to them, for crying out loud.
In your own stadium. It's not like you're on the road.
Stadium.
At home.
Come on.
Yeah, I think their only ranked win was against Navy. It's like, really? That's
and you know what? Navy was a 23rd ranked team, and they got there because they don't play anybody either. Nothing against the Naval Academy.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't care for the Navy. I can say that being an Air Force veteran. Navy, I don't know about the Navy sometimes. Just kidding. I love the Navy.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Great for the military, the service academies doing what they do, and if they get to be ranked, that's a great season. But you know what? In the grand scheme of things, that's not a real big win on a team's resume.
No. And then real quick, as kind of our last college football topic, at least, what's your thoughts on Ole Miss still making this magical run without their head coach? Because there's a lot of people said, if Lane had still been the head coach and they played against Georgia, they might not be able to beat Georgia a second time. Like, a lot of people seem to be on board, not only because it's Lane Kiffin hate, and even as an LSU fan and somebody who goes to LSU, I completely understand. completely understand. I've even seen, and I think Lane tweeted that he is leaving LSU to become the president of Venezuela and all of that. But we're not going to get that far into it. I just thought it was a funny joke.
My question is, does Venezuela pay the bonus if Ole Miss keeps moving on?
Oh, I think they have to. I think he'd have that in the contract. But, how kind of cool is it that Ole Miss is still doing this? Because you got to think, we've never seen this before as far as a coach leaving a team midst a playoff run, especially with where they were sitting at 11-1. It's like you knew they were going to the playoffs. We've never seen a coach leave a team like this, not be a part of it, and the team just continue to chug along like absolutely nothing changed. Everything is still running the exact same way.
The last time we almost saw it was the last time LSU hired a new coach.
Yeah.
When Brian Kelly left Notre Dame with them on the cusp of getting into the playoffs, but they ended up not getting there. You know what? It's the system's issue. This is completely and utterly the system's problem, because there shouldn't be any issue to where a coach has to leave his playoff team before the playoffs. We talked a little bit about this off air before we came on, and you know what? There are ways to do this that will still allow the kids to wait until after the season's done, completely done, and still be able to get into the transfer portal and get enrolled. Yes. You can't convince me, and colleges do it all the time. They let kids in past a certain date. Now, if it's past the drop date, then no, they don't let. But within a couple of weeks, you can still pick up a new class. So you know what? Those kids can still probably get enrolled and get into a class. They're going to be a little behind, but you know what? That's part of playing the game. If you want to leave your school that you're at, that's part of the game you're playing. Okay, period. Yeah. But at the same time, why? Like, there's a kid from close to where I grew up, and actually his mom, I graduated with his mom, tight end for Miami. He's been injured all year, or for the last half of the season, so he's not on the active roster, but he just transferred to IU. And people are like, oh, why would he leave in the middle of a playoff run? He's hurt. He's not playing, so really he's not a big hit to the roster. But at the same time, he's got to, in order to get enrolled and be able to, according to the NCAA, you've got to be enrolled by a certain time for him to be able to take spring courses at IU.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be happening. That should, Bo Pribula last year should not have left Penn State before they went to the semifinals, for crying out loud. Yeah. It just shouldn't happen. And coaches shouldn't be able to leave that quickly, but I understand why they do at the same time.
Yes.
They're taking a new job because to go build a different program. Well, they've got to go because, hey, guess what? The portal's open.
Well, the portal, and then look at the time when Lane left. He left 2 days before the National Signing Day, as far as keeping a lot of those recruits that are committed to the school. Yeah. And like you said, you and I talked about it off air. Realistically, and I don't even want to say college is like a mini NFL.
It is.
It is a professional league that the only difference is you have a little bit of school sprinkled in.
Well, and you have free agency that hits in the middle of the playoffs.
Correct. Which to me, like you said, for the fairness to not only the student athletes, but the fairness to the coaches, and realistically, every single team across the board, whether you're Power 4, Group 6, or anything in between, to me, open season, free agency, job interviews, tampering, which is essentially what they're trying to avoid, or at least what Ole Miss is trying to avoid, even though they're still letting the offensive coordinator go to LSU, but still come back to help coach Ole Miss into the playoffs. Anyway, nonetheless, it, to me, start it the day after the national championship, just like they do with the Super Bowl. You can't hire the Super Bowl coaches. You can't talk to them. You can't do anything like that until the Super Bowl is over. Then you can do whatever you want to do. I would say do that immediately the day after. You want to transfer, here you go. Like you said, and give it a timeline. Like,
isn't there something to where they can talk to them in the NFL? They just can't officially hire them. They can have preliminary talks with them, but they can't go in-depth interviews. They can at least make contact but they can't hire them away.
Right. And yeah, that's like the only, kind of fine line that they tiptoe and whatnot.
Right.
So to me, they need to fix that calendar. Because here's the other thing too that I think, and I kind of want your thoughts on it. I think I know how you'll go, but I just want to see, because you look at where the signing day is. Signing day is before the playoffs even start. So you got National Signing Day. So kids that are, like, oh, hey, I'm already committed to the school. For the most part, those kids kind of already know if I'm going to stay at this school or not, depending on what their status is, depending on what they're going for. Most of them are probably going for not only money, but also maybe even to compete for a national title. Why not move that to after? Because the kids are either going to stay or they're going to not. Or again, when the transfer portal opens, I think even some of the kids who commit, they can be like, actually, you know what? I changed my mind. I'm going somewhere else. Okay, bye.
Well, look at the quarterback from Notre Dame that committed to Nebraska, and then a day later, after being on campus,
yes,
goes to Kentucky.
Yes. Yeah. Like, yeah.
So it's totally doable.
It is. It's 100% doable, but it's just crazy that's the case. I do want to talk though, because this can tie into college, because it is an interesting topic that actually just happened before the show with Sam and I started. Of John Harbaugh is fired by the Baltimore Ravens. He's only the third coach technically in Baltimore Ravens history. He's the third to get fired. He was with them for 18 seasons, and now he is a free agent coach, free to go wherever he wants to go. My pitch is I think he should go to college, because he's the big brother. He won the Super Bowl, but he's never won a national title. However, little brother has not won a Super Bowl, but is now back in the NFL to try to achieve that with the Chargers. But he has won a national title at the collegiate level. And much to Sam's point, is it still kind of that brotherly measuring contest of, no, I'm the better brother. No, I'm the better brother than you are. And Sam, you brought up the good point of, if he does decide to go the college route, there's really not a lot of the good openings left in college unless we just see something crazy happen between now
Not
and
out of the realm
national
of possibility
championship.
either.
Correct, because it's college football. Anything is possible. Right now, I believe the only opening left is Utah as far as big Power 4 openings. But
Chapel Hill may be open because, their coach wants to be in the NFL really bad.
Hey, don't Chapel Bill.
Yeah, right.
Wait, does Jordan come with him, or does she stay at North Carolina? Is she still taking classes at North Carolina? Oh, sorry, she's older than that. I'm sorry. I didn't know she was old enough to leave school yet or not.
I don't know what happens with John. I really don't. First off, I'm really, really confused as to why he's not still the coach in Baltimore, because what? I understand. Okay, you haven't done. Who are you gonna get that's better?
And it's only his second losing season. No, second or third. Like, he's only had like 3 losing seasons with them.
18 seasons too. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's got more losing seasons than not. It's very confusing. But it's the what have you done for me lately, I guess, when it comes to that. But at the same time, probably has something to do with the fact that he's had high seeds and they haven't gotten to a Super Bowl since they won it. So probably has to do with some of that. But at the same time, who are you going to get that's better? You're just not. I don't know if you're going to find anybody that's better. I don't know. It's when it comes to John, I really don't know if he has a want to be in college. But honestly, I would see him taking a year off before jumping right into Utah if he did want to go. Now some of these NFL positions may get filled with somebody big name from college, but I just don't know that that's going to happen. You don't see that as much, at least from the big name colleges. And what college is going to be big enough for John what's the smallest style of college that John would be willing to go to? And honestly, Utah may be it. That may be too small.
And say, and especially one that, yeah, realistically, because he would be going there with the intention of winning a championship, and
Right.
you're only doing that with a big team. He's not going to somewhere
Right.
like Boston College and trying to
You're not
rebuild.
building it from the foundation up.
No,
You want something already in the cupboard.
Correct. And yeah, because to me, if you look at the NFL jobs that are open right now, none of them are good. You've got Arizona is a mess. They have their own issues. Wouldn't take that job. The Giants is open. Don't necessarily think I would take that either. I mean, maybe because you've got Dart, you've got Cam Scattaboo, you've got Neighbors. There's potential, but New York's a hard place to play. You better win quickly, and there's a lot of high expectations.
Atlanta's not a bad looking spot. That would probably be the best one that's open right now that John might consider.
Correct. And realistically, that to me is like the only other good
Michael
one.
Penix is a poor man's Lamar. Like he can run, but yet he's still got a good arm. Like
you've got young weapon. Well, because they do have to figure out if they want to keep Kyle Pitts or not. And he hasn't really lived up to potential. But you do have Drake London. You've got Bijan. You've got now young defensive pieces to work with. Like there's a lot of talent, and
there's some stuff there.
And the expectations aren't going to be crazy high if he goes to Atlanta either. Like the expectation isn't, hey, you need to be like in the playoff.
Look at it this way, Tony. They tied for first technically in their division.
That's true. That's true.
And they were the ones that screwed the Buccaneers out of a title because they beat the Saints in the last week of the season.
Correct.
And so like they weren't like they underachieved and still tied for first. And so. Atlanta might be something if John Harbaugh is really still wanting to stay a coach this year or this next season and be in the NFL and have a chance at something. That might be the position where you might see him go.
Yeah, but I'll be honest, like you said, maybe it's something kind of like Mike Vrabel. You take a year off, kind of just enjoy yourself, relax. You've been doing this for 18 years. Take a year off, enjoy time with.
Go hang out with John Mellencamp.
Yeah, or. I don't think he would do it. How funny would it be if he joins his brother's staff?
Oh, wouldn't that be great? He could join him. He could join him for next week's game.
He could. That would be kind of awesome. I'm gonna be honest. Like, okay, let's see if you can become the first brother duo to go do something. That's
they'll go right into the first round playoff loss.
Yeah, first round bounce. But hey, it was one of those when I saw it as like you said, I'm like, why? Like you said, maybe it's a what have you done with me lately? Heck, he's gotten you into the playoffs just about every single year except for this year, especially in recent memory. So it's like whatever. But we'll move on to the last topic because we got to save the best for last because this is Sam's favorite topic because it's college basketball and it's especially about his favorite team and one of his, I think, current favorite players in Braden Smith breaking Cassius Winston's record for Big Ten's all-time assist leaders with 893, record that only stood for about 3 years. Before that, it stood for almost 20 years because Mateen Cleaves had it in 2000, and then Cassius broke it in 2017.
Yep.
So now Braden is now the all-time leader, and I'll be honest, I have not followed college basketball as much because we're still deep into football, but just looking at the Big Ten standings, Nebraska 15-0 just beat Michigan State. That's crazy. Just the fact that they're in that position, especially after, I don't know if you remember, I was always like, I feel like Nebraska. Now I know Maryland and
now they're actually there.
Yeah, now they're actually there. But Purdue's sitting there at 5. They only have one loss on the season, so they're still continuing to be the big team and as far as probably going to be one of the best representatives out of the Big Ten. How are you feeling about Purdue, and do you think they can make a deep run once again?
Wow, a lot to unpack there with such little time. First off, Braden Smith, think about this, Tony. There are still 17 regular season games remaining in his senior season, and he is averaging 10 assists a game. He's 180 assists away from the all-time NCAA record. Bobby Hurley had 1,073, and Yeah, 1,073, and he's at 893 right now.
Yeah.
And if he averages 10 assists a game, he will tie it on the last game of the season and probably break it. Or, well, he won't tie it. I'm sorry. He'll be 10 short going into the Big Ten tournament and probably break it either that first game or the next game after that. So, I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion, but you're almost looking at an ESPN predictor of like 96%, that he's going to break this.
Barring an injury or anything crazy.
Right. And that's going to be the Big Ten mark now.
Yeah.
And to think that, the 8 whatever Cleves had stood for almost 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Braden Smith who comes in and he's breaking the new record 3 games into the Big Ten season. 3 games into it, and he's got 17 more. I truly believe, and you can, argue. Anybody can argue with me on it, but they're going to lose this argument. Braden Smith's best player in the country right now because of what he can bring to the court. He can score. He doesn't have to. He only averages about 13 points a game, but he doesn't have to. He can put 30 on the board if he needs to, but he doesn't need to. Yeah. He can. I don't know if you've seen any highlights of some of these assists that he's gotten, but just absurd behind the back through defense to a perfect landing point for a dunk, or they're absurd. His pump fake is one that you couldn't. I think Stevie Wonder would go, "Oh my gosh, that is amazing," because he literally will bring all of his pivot foot, all but the toe, off the ground, come back down and watch the guy go sailing by, and then put the jumper up.
Yeah.
What he brings, you've got to respect the fact that he can drive to the hoop and whoa. If you put too much defense on him, he's going to find the open guy right there at the hoop for the lay-in. He is so threatening when it comes. Does he make mistakes? Sure, everybody does. And does he get a little carried away once in a while? Sure, everybody does. But at the same point, the fact that he contributes either points or assists-wise for so much of Purdue's offense just to me says he is by far the best player in the country. It just really doesn't, to me, at least at this point, come even close.
Well, and I'll be honest too, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because like I said, I haven't watched as much college basketball this year as I did last year, with the exception of probably him. And I only say this because you're a Purdue fan and I know you watch Purdue. I feel like there's not that star player like there was with Cooper Flagg. Like Cooper Flagg was kind of the headline player last year of like, oh, he's the best baller in the nation. But it feels like to me now, and I've kind of felt this way for the last probably 3 or 4 years, with the exception of maybe a handful of guys here and there, you don't have those singular big stars that are just taking over teams and taking over games like they do, and you will. But it seems like, with the way Purdue plays, with the way Michigan State plays, it truly is a team collective. We will have good stars. We will have guys that can make big plays, but we don't need that big money name. We don't need this one big guy that we have to try to funnel everything through to make it happen. Now, obviously, Purdue had Zach Edey, which they did for a long time. They utilized what they had, but it's still a testament to Braden Smith and the rest of this Purdue team of what they've been able to do, and that still collectively as a team, they can still produce this type of success even without that quote-unquote star player there.
Let's say it this way, yes, Braden Smith benefited greatly from having 2 years with Zach Edey. He absolutely did. Mm-hmm. But at the same point, Zach Edey got a lot of his lunch set for him because he had Braden Smith. Now, has he gotten is he a lot better than what he was those 2 years? I think so. I think he's that much better now. He's improved in his assist totals average every year, and his turnovers have gone down. Not every year, but they've gone down. His average, and Matt Painter talks about a lot, to where a 2.5 assist to turnover ratio is a very, very good ratio. Mm-hmm. Braden Smith's almost a 4-to-1 right now.
Yeah.
Like that think about that like, and three times, Tony, he has out assisted the entire other team that he's played against.
Yeah.
Against Memphis in the Baja Mar in the early season, then just on the 20th in Indianapolis against Auburn, he out assisted the entire Auburn team. And then when he broke the record the other night, he out assisted Wisconsin 12-7. So like for him to be able to do that, and here's the real thing, and I've been talking to a couple of different people, they feel that he hasn't really broken out with a big game yet on the assists. Think about that. You know, like they're saying there's going to be a game where he's going to blow up for maybe even 20 because all the passes he ends up sending out, the shots get hit instead of only a few of them falling. You know, like there's been multiple games that he's had 10 or 12 assists that he could have had 4 or 5 more because they had great looks and just didn't hit the shot.
Yeah. Well, Sam,
Purdue is going to be one of the better teams. You forgot to mention Michigan. I know you're a Michigan State guy, but you forgot to mention Michigan. But they're pretty impressive. But this is going to be a good Big Ten season.
It is. It is. Well, I appreciate you being on, good sir. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and we will see y'all next week.
Life is like a duck. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Here at Military Broadcast Radio, we're teaming up with our friends at Die Tired, the veteran-friendly music band spreading strength, resilience, and mental health awareness one shirt at a time.
And check